Hi everyone, welcome back to SGTV. We're joined once again by Cathy from Little Miss Electrical. I think we're going to be talking about your team, which is mainly an all-female team. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So yeah, at the moment we do have an all-female team. So I've got a female electrician, Lizzie, who works for me, a female apprentice, Brittany, who qualifies next year, and then myself. And we do also have another lady called Sam who works for us. I have had a male electrician work for me before, and I've got a young lad on work experience. But we do get a lot of good feedback from customers about the female staff.
Yeah.
I went to price a job yesterday for a guy who was a church warden, and he was going, I just can't believe you're all women, I can't believe it's so many women and that you're electricians, I can't believe it. And a lot of our customers, I'd say especially female customers, do respond really well to the fact that we've got female staff. Also, I do quite a lot of estate agent work, so some of the tenants are happier if maybe they're single women that live by themselves, having a female going into the house. You know, sometimes if they're not in or if they are in, I don't know, it just makes people feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I was going to say, I mean, do you find having an all-female team, is that more appealing to certain customers?
Yeah, I think so. I think like you get a variety of things going on. So we get quite a lot of female customers, not necessarily single or living in all-female houses. They might have a husband or children that are male, but for some reason, like they do definitely respond better to it. And I don't think it's about, people quite often say to me, oh, I bet they feel more comfortable or less worried about you. But I think a lot of the time it's just about curiosity and also like just supporting other women. There's a massive movement now, isn't there, with the Me Too campaign, and so I think that's brought women together a lot in supporting each other in whatever they do, trying to help each other in being successful. And then there obviously is the element as well of if you're working in places where there might be vulnerable people, they again will feel more comfortable using females. I've done work before for Leeds and Yorkshire Housing Association, and we were going to a property where there was a vulnerable tenant, and she wouldn't allow male contractors in a house, and it did take them a while to track down a female electrician. So that there's work where there's jobs, like I say, where they need it, there's jobs where they like it, and then there's the other work like the chap at the church who were just really interested by it, like they're just really curious.
Yeah, the electrical industry, it is predominantly a male, environment. Do you find that you and your team are treated fairly, treated equally on site? Or? Well,
we don't do tons of site work. A lot of the work that we do is for private customers, like I say, estate agents. We do some site jobs, and usually I'd say the guys are quite helpful. Like, there's one site I work on, the lads are always helping us load up our vans with our tools, bless them. They're, no, I don't think there's sort of unfair treatment. I'm part of a group on Facebook called Open Circuit, it's just for female electrical contractors. I think anyone from maybe just a little bit interested to owners of businesses like myself, and they share a lot of stories on there where they might have got treated unfairly, or maybe they're under the impression that they have, and they just want a bit of advice from other women in the industry, and to see if they're maybe imagining it a bit, or if they're a bit paranoid, or if they genuinely have something to worry about. And I'd say that there is probably some times where, being a female on a site that's full of lads, it can be quite daunting, and maybe sometimes your sense of humours might just not fit together well, and they might not find something funny that a lot of lads might. Going into wholesalers, find it quite daunting, because quite often they would straight away just presume that you were just his girlfriend or his wife or his customer, not him, the electrician. And I've often rang people and been like, oh hi, it's the electrician, and they go, is it? I rang someone yesterday, a printing shop who've done some printing for me, and something wasn't working on their guillotines, and they said, oh, this mechanical engineer's been out, he's looked at all that side of it, and he said it's the electrical side, it's the contactor. The guys that were explaining it to me were just giving me so much waffle. I said, just get here, let me speak to him, because he'll tell me this properly. So they put him on the phone and said, oh, is this the electrician? Yeah. And he was like, is it? And I was like, yeah, okay then. And then, so sometimes you do get that, but usually once you say yeah, and they realise that they've not just been put on phone to receptionist or secretary or whoever, they are usually small, sort of, really. And then, I wouldn't say that there's a massive, I suppose people who feel strongly about it just won't approach us in the first place.
It's a shame that people would still feel like that, and I think what you're doing is good. I suppose it's promoting it more than anything. And do you see it more often? Do you see more ladies getting into the trade?
Well, I think because I am a female in the trade, quite often I get pointed towards other women in the trade. So like the group, it's got over 200 members now, which I think is amazing. Like you wouldn't have thought that there'd be so many women. But then I suppose if you think about that in comparison to how many men there is in the electrical industry, 200 is probably a drop in the ocean. I do get messages from people as well saying that they're thinking about retraining. They've seen my story and they'd be interested in maybe coming with us and getting some work experience or just some advice. I get messages quite often like that, which is really nice. I've got a girl coming next week on some work experience who's 15, she's at high school. So to be able to show somebody of that age that, she could leave school and straight away do an apprenticeship and become an electrician, she's not going to have to pay for any training. She's going to get it all government funded and she's going to get paid to do it, because the majority of female trades, I find, have retrained at a later date.
Yeah.
Like it seems to be once you've got past maybe a point where you care what other people think, you're then like, okay, well actually I could go do something I like, and electrical actually isn't that bad, or plumbing or whatever they decide.
Do you think that's a main sticking point at that age, do you think?
I think so. I've done like a few different careers talks and I did some, the first, I just got invited to one school, and then I think a few of the teachers or careers advisors knew each other in other local schools, and I ended up going to about 4 or 5. And I've done a couple at colleges as well where they do electrical courses, and I'd say those were the people who I got the least sort of response from. Like I've spoke to people who were there, a lot of them seemed like maybe they were just there for half a day off school, or maybe they weren't really that interested and someone had sent them on it. And then I've been to, I went to a year 7 super learning day where we had to go in casual wear and they had to guess our job. These kids, their minds were so open. I think there was like 10 groups, and like 6 groups out of 10 got that I was an electrician from asking me questions and me saying yes or no.
Yeah.
And then the other ones thought I was a farmer, chimney sweep, plumber, something else that was quite a male-dominated role again. So like the difference between how open the minds are from the year 7s to the year 11s, I think there's this thing when, like, I remember being that age and thinking it was all about how pretty you looked, or what other people thought of you, or did people think, it wasn't about, do I want to do that job because I want to do it, I don't care what I thought. It was maybe like what people thought. I don't want to do the same job as what my dad does or somebody else's dad does. I want to do the same job as what my mum does or somebody else's mum.
Yeah, it's good that, like you say, that kids, at that age, they're open-minded enough to not pigeonhole anyone into anything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I suppose that's only going to be a good thing for the industry going forward, especially future generations to come.
Yeah, I think there's a massive thing as well with like I'm not slating anyone, but careers advice for kids at that age. My apprentice said she wanted to be a plumber, I think, at school, because she did a year of plumbing and then went on to electrical. And I think she got responses from her teachers that were a bit like, oh, all right then.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh yeah, that's really good. You would be setting like not a trend, but you'd be doing what you want rather than what everyone thinks you should
Forging
do.
your own path,
Exactly,
so to speak,
yeah. Like she didn't get that sort of response. She just kind of got like, oh right,
Yeah.
okay. I think her parents were really encouraging, which really helped. I mean, I remember being really young and thinking that I wanted to be a mechanic because I wanted to build cars together, and like nobody ever was like, oh, that's great. But I remember when I said, oh, I want to be a vet or a vet nurse, that was a lot more like, oh, there's loads of women that do that. Yeah, do that. And when I eventually went into law, the response that you get to say something like that to someone, as opposed to saying I want to do a trade. To me, at my school, it was like all the naughty boys that seemed to go into trades, all the boys that didn't really listen at school, that were always in trouble. They've all seemed to go and get trades. It wasn't seen as like a thing that you do if you're intelligent.
Yeah,
exactly, yeah.
I mean, that's something we spoke about quite a few times on the channel is, I don't think there is enough guidance, especially when we were at school, from teachers to encourage anyone into trades.
Yeah, exactly.
Regardless of gender.
Yeah.
And there just didn't seem to be that positive reinforcement to say, yeah, go down a trade route. It's a good career path. There wasn't that.
No, I don't remember that. I don't remember apprenticeships even getting mentioned to us. Like everyone was go to college, go to uni, especially the girls, or go do health and beauty. It's very much if you're a girl, you go and do a traditional female role. Like the same if a young lad was saying about going and doing hairdressing or health and beauty. I think the assumption, they're not going to be successful in that is sort of immediate by most people because it's so unusual for them to do it.
Is there any advice you give to anyone, I suppose, regardless of gender again, anyone out there thinking of getting into it who, for whatever reason, might want to but don't feel like they can? Is there any advice you'd give to them?
Definitely. I think I'd try as much as you can to get work experience, on-site experience, anything like, any sort of experience you can get where you're working on-site, you're using tools. That's such a positive thing when people approach me saying, oh, have you got any work experience? The first thing I ask them about, I'd I think an apprenticeship is miles better than going to college or uni, just because you get paid to earn. I've paid my apprentice since she first started. The first day she came, she's been paid ever since. Her qualifications are funded by the government, so she doesn't have to pay for any of that training. So I think if you did an apprenticeship and got qualified, or even a good way through it and thought, you know, this really isn't for me, you can still go to university and then get a student loan or fund it. However, if you go to university first and then you've paid for it and then you think, oh, actually, I'd rather have an apprenticeship now, or I'd rather learn something that typically is done through an apprenticeship, it will be much harder to do it the other way. And I speak to many women and anyone really who's wanting to retrain as a trade at a later date after they've been to uni, after they've got a career. And they do find it really difficult to get onto an apprenticeship as a mature candidate. So I think an apprenticeship would definitely be a recommendation from me as a first start. And then if you don't like it, if you've got qualified in something, it's only, I think it's 3 years or 4 years most apprenticeships, and you've been paid to do it, and you've got life experience from it, and you've got experience on site on a job.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I'd say look at all apprenticeship routes before you just say, right, I'll go to college and go to uni. You know, the amount of people that come out of uni and that they're at the same stage as what somebody would be at as if they were going into an apprenticeship in terms of qualifications or experience, or on-site experience, I suppose, is the main one.
So for anyone watching out there, I hope you found that useful. If you want to find out more, please do like and subscribe, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you.